What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And today, we're going to talk about Azrael. This movie is available with audio description. I rented this. That's how I got the audio description. It's currently on AMC Plus, so you have to bypass, and if you have AMC Plus, you have to continue to pay more money because you have to rent their movies off their service. So why bother having AMC Plus is the real question here, but I'm a psychopath, I guess. I don't know. Azrael is a film that the horror community has kind of gotten a little up and, a little love for. I didn't see it in time for spooky season. It's got Samara Weaving, who's one of the new Scream Queens, and she can't scream here because this film is basically A Quiet Place meets The Rapture. So, she in the Rapture future, they've cut their vocal cords so no one can make any noise. And there's still hell demons that are chasing the humans that are left. So it's Samara Weaving is plays Azrael, and she's fighting to survive. But there's no dialogue in this movie. So it's an entire movie dialogue free, which means the audio description is amazing. Because it has no choice not to be. It's one of the things I noticed about In a Violent Nature. What I didn't like the audio description track for that was there's so little dialogue that you're like, why don't you take full opportunity here? Why can't you describe more? There has to be more than what you're giving me in this moment. With Azrael, it's it can't stop, except for maybe a couple sound effects from demons and stuff, and scenes of people being killed or eaten or crushed or ripped apart or filet mignoned, as you will. I don't know if any of those things happen. I do, but I was just listing random things. All while Azrael fights to, with every fiber of her being to stay alive in this world where she was not raptured and is stuck on Earth. This is absolutely one of those firepower girl boss movies. I just didn't find it that interesting as a film. You know what I'm saying? A Quiet Place has a similar thing, but develops, at least in the first film, really develops the strong familiar bond between Krasinski, Blunt, the kids. You get this sense of who people are, and there's warmth, there's a story, there's something to fight for. With Azrael, it's just this woman fighting through shit, which is also a genre, if we're being honest. Just somebody who is really just in it the whole time trying to get from point A to point B. But I do kind of miss the sort of the reasons why and the thinking back to what am I fighting for, other than just, well, clearly everything around her fell out of concept art for Hellraiser. So she just, what other plot do you need? Everything around her sounds like a living nightmare. So of course you're gonna want to get away from it. But I think about a film like In the Mouth of Madness, which I saw earlier this year, which is a fever dream, directed by John Carpenter, based on a work by Clive Barker. And it is, it's insane. And some of the stuff that's in that there are images in there that would, for a film made in 1994, celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, would stick with you forever. Here, I didn't fully get that, so it had a whole bunch of things that were just random sort of horror gore that sold really through Samara Weaving's performance. It's really sort of sold through the fact that we have one strong female character to lead us through the film. It doesn't even really feel like we've tried to develop too much the side characters that are sort of around her. Everybody always feels like they're not going to make it except her. You know, it always feels like, well, the film's called Azrael, so obviously she's safe. And I would have appreciated a little bit more, you know, change up a little bit more. Let's make it a little bit less predictable, a little bit, you know, is she in danger here? I don't know. The film's called Azrael, and well, we're only like 45 minutes into it. It'd be weird if she got her head ripped off right now, unless she can regenerate, which would be a nice twist. But, you know, I mean, then you have to go the rest of the movie remembering that she can regenerate. So, are there more choices that we could make to make this film more interesting? Sure. And I would say that about some of the films that rely on the gimmick of lack of sound. It's something that we've done before, and it works every once in a while, just like the found footage genre. When you put it into the right hands, it works. When you overuse it, it doesn't work on a lot of things. Even the Paranormal Activity franchise itself, where the first film worked, found out as you continued to make sequels, it did not always work because it never felt like found footage. Um, it just felt like shaky cam, and especially in many of those sequels. So uh, here you have a survival thriller where no one could talk. Great. And sort of like the same thing that I felt with No One Will Save You. With that one, they showed that people could talk, they just weren't. Like, and they would go out of their way to avoid dialogue. I still remember, and it pisses me off. I still remember that driver who, instead of talking to her, like pantomimed, like shooting a hoop. You know, I was like, what a weirdo. Like, there's, you know, it felt like everybody was going out of their way to not talk to her, like in this movie. And either you establish people can't, or she can't hear them, and you stick with it, but you don't have this weird middle ground. And Azrael feels like you established it, but then you're not sure how to establish characters from that point on. You know, like the connection, the familiar bond, um, almost like some film where I don't know, we've stumbled on some sort of lost tribe, you know, that can't talk. Or Battlefield Earth is a great example. I hate to say it, but it is, where you get like the sort of the class system. You know, John Travolta's in the higher. Don't make me rewatch that movie. Anyway, its 30th anniversary is coming up. Fuck me. So, but in that movie, you know, you've got the sort of a lower native class, right? And you can do something with that, and it's harder to show how they have a connection. Or Planet of the Apes, Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes, where the humans, and also I guess technically Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, although you don't see as much human familial bonds in that. You just have a girl. So yeah, there are ways to do it well, and I think Azrael supports just Samara Weaving. So for a lot of people, this works because it's just one long badass action horror movie. But on another level, it's like we've kind of been here before, and we've kind of seen things that are a little bit, that are able to bring a little bit more depth and more complexity to it. That being said, the movie is like unstoppable non-dialogue. So when I'm thinking about audio description tracks at the end of the year, it's going to be impossible for me to not think about Azrael, because, like, how could you not? It's immediately at the top of my list in terms of that kind of thing. And what I got was a whole lot of, like I said, nightmarish description. So I think everything was described really well, because there's a whole bunch of stuff. I was really wondering, I was like, what is the budget for this movie? I know that like we can make horror movies for cheap, but sometimes if we make them for too cheap, they just sort of look like everything is green screen. And so I was starting to like worry what the effect is, but it seems like the horror community really loves it. So I'm guessing this isn't really bad CGI horror. I'm guessing this somehow looks good. But yeah, there's a lot here for a film that is just essentially like a like a Shudder original. It's part of it's Paramount's sort of like straight to video division. I can't think of the name of that thing, but I've reviewed the the Silent Room, the Silent Hour is the same little Republic or something like that is their thing. Anyway, movies that you're like, did this go to theaters? No? Okay. Yeah, so it's not necessarily some of the other films I've really enjoyed from Shudder this year, like Late Night with the Devil and Oddity, which I like a lot. But it's definitely something I would not besmirch Samara Weaving for. She's handed an entire film and told to carry this and carry it. She does. She takes it on her back and carries it. It's just, do you want to watch her do that? And that's, I think, the big question. How much do you want to watch her do that? Will sort of lead into. I'm going to put this sort of on the same level. I felt by the time I was done, I felt like the gimmick on this wasn't strong enough to carry the movie, but that there were things in here that did work. It wasn't a complete failure for me. I didn't hate the movie. It kind of sounds like I'm about to give it a negative review. I'm not. So I'm going to give it the same grade I gave Arcadian, which is another sort of Shudder title from earlier this year. And that is a B-. So I kind of felt the same way about, it's funny because they're both A movies, but I was getting sort of the same vibes. They both had sort of like a concept that kind of worked, you know, but for me, not like 100%, not, so, but check out for Samara Weaving. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.